talk to you all about authorized users. Okay. Is it a credit hack or is it a big mistake? All right. We're going to go over 7 must know facts about being an authorized user. All right. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Download the free ebook right there on your screen if you haven't already done so. All right. So, number one on our list, actually, this is actually out of order. So, there we go, right there. Okay. All right. So, now, 7 things you need to know, okay, is going to be number one. Okay, number one, most banks don't report to all 3 credit bureaus. Okay, most banks do not report to all 3 credit bureaus. Okay, when you are an authorized user on someone's credit card, that history is supposed to show on your credit report. Okay, the problem is that a lot of people don't know is that you actually could be in the situation. Well, I won't say be in a situation, but it's not uncommon that a bank will not report it to all 3 credit bureaus. Okay. So you got to know that. All right. And so, for example, there are some banks that only report to 1 credit bureau. There are some banks that only report to, so if not credit bureau, usually it's either 3 or usually it's either 1. Okay. So if it's not all 3, it's usually 1 bureau. There are some that might do 2, but those are less than most of them. Okay, it's usually going to be either 3 for the most part, or of course 2. Not 2. It's either 3 for the most part, or it's either going to be 1. Okay, bureau. Okay, so that's most banks. And then number two, you could potentially have your identity stolen. Okay, now why is that? That's mainly because your social security number, your name, that information is floating around. You have no idea who has that information. Okay. So, again, those types of things play a major role when you are looking to improve your credit score. Most of the time, when you are becoming an authorized user, now, if it's your family or your friend, that's a little bit different. Obviously, not saying that they can't take your information, but you have a little bit more trust. You know who that person is, you know where to find that person, if something were to happen. But on the other side of the coin, if you don't know who that person is, there's a very good chance that your information is still out there. Even if that person has good intentions, sometimes that information is it could be on their computer and their computer is hacked, or they could be writing it down and their information is then taken. So again, you want to put yourself in a situation where you at least know who that person is. For those who don't know, when you're an authorized user, most of the time the account holder uses their mailing address. So if you get added on to that credit card, your information was then attached to that address. So that person that owns the card, they start to get mail with your name on it. Okay. You can ask people this too. Anyone that has ever been an authorized user for someone, when you add that person, and most of the time they decline having mailing them a credit card, they usually put their own address, if or they just decline the card altogether. Either way, regardless of the card, that address is now associated with that person. So if you're the authorized user, right, you better believe any credit card that you've ever became an authorized user on, that information is then added to that address. And that means that person starts to get credit card offers with your name on it to that address. Okay. I'm telling you in the comments, am I lying? Okay. I'm telling you, this stuff happens, but it actually can get even crazier than that. I want to show you guys this video of something that just happened to this one lady. You will not believe what happened with her as she. I could show you better than I could tell you. Watch
All right,
this.
you're not going to believe this. A Walnut Creek woman says Chase Bank allowed dozens of people, dozens, to be added as authorized users to her credit card without her knowledge or approval.
It is both crazy and scary. 35 credit cards and other people's names showed up in her mail. Frustrated by the bank's response, she called 7 on Your Side.
And I-Team reporter Melanie Woodrow is here with a story that sounds shocking.
Yeah, Larry and Kristen, this woman says that she doesn't even have her kids as authorized users on her credit card. So you could imagine her surprise when 35 names she's never seen before got added to her account. And that's not all that happened.
Marsha Rhodes, Chantella Brown, Tawana Rogers, Sean Jones.
They're not friends or family.
Taylor Elliott, Derek Marble.
35 names.
Angela Crawford, Brandon Hemphill.
Jody Hayes has never heard before.
Alicia Fuller, Kevin
Hmm.
Amwanga.
with the power to charge up to $19,000 on her Marriott Bonvoy Chase card or get $950 cash back, leaving Hayes on the hook.
I know I have good credit, but I've never seen anything like this ever.
Hayes and her husband were on a cruise in August when she got an informed delivery email from the U.S. Postal Service with what appeared to be dozens of credit cards headed her way.
This fiasco ruined the end of our vacation.
She says she got in touch with Chase from the cruise ship.
They were just very, basic. Oh, okay, yeah, maybe it's some computer glitch. We'll stop it.
Hayes says Chase also put her in touch with the fraud department, which she says called her back when she returned home.
With no explanation, just we'll take care of it. We'll send you a new card, a new number.
A response that was less than satisfactory to her.
I wanted them to send an email. Did you authorize all these people to be on your credit card? And I wanted them to say, we'll investigate it.
In an emailed statement to 7 on Your Side Investigates, a Chase spokesperson wrote, quote, "We monitor customer accounts for suspicious activity and promptly contact them if something unusual is detected. In this instance, our vigilant customer alerted us first. We closed the unauthorized cards, issued a new account and card, and apologized for the inconvenience caused during her vacation. We put Hayes in touch with the United States Postal Inspection Service."
My immediate reaction is that sounds like an identity fraud scheme.
U.S. Postal Inspector Matthew Norfleet says using the mail for any kind of fraud scheme is a crime which carries up to 20 years. He says the perpetrator could be overseas or right here in Contra Costa County.
Search warrants, surveillance, grand jury subpoenas, those are all tools that we use to investigate fraud schemes, big and small.
The scheme didn't end with these Chase cards.
Capital One, Discover,
I keep telling y'all.
Citibank. I got from every bank in application.
All denied.
Not enough credit history.
But the names on the applications now sounding more familiar.
All of these names are the same as some of the people on the credit cards they sent. A lot of repeated names. Brittany Jackson like 4 times.
Once somebody's figured out a fraud scheme, they're going to do it as many times as they can.
It's not clear if the fraudsters were planning to steal Hayes' mail, but in addition to informed consent, she also happens to have a lockbox on her mailbox. And while no mailbox is perfectly secure, the U.S. Postal Inspection Service says Hayes did a lot of things correctly.
All right, you guys get the gist, right? You guys get the gist of what's going on. Isn't that something? Okay, again, this lady, listen, okay, so here, let me break this down. You guys clearly see what's going on here, okay? So here, let me bring you guys back up to speed here. I know the comments are going crazy right now, trying to figure out what in the world was this lady doing, okay? So here, um listen, we'll get to the comments here in a second. I want to get through the list, because let me tell y'all something. Again, this happens. I'm telling you all, this stuff happens. This is what I like to call a good credit problem. We'll do a video on good credit problems in general, okay? But like I said, your information is out there, guys, and people most definitely do it. Now, here, check this out. If you're looking to improve your credit score, we can help you. You can see right here, one of our elite members got a game plan. She improved her credit score 657 to 684. She had a 575 on Experian. That got pushed up to 657. You guys can't really see that. But either way, 649 to 677. Scan that QR code right there on your screen if you want my team and I to create a custom game plan for you. All right, let's continue with the list. So now, number three. Some banks do not allow you to remove yourself as an authorized user. Okay. Some banks do not allow you to remove yourself as an authorized user. Okay. So that's something to keep in mind. All right. So, for example, if a person has a credit card, you're an authorized user on it, they use more than 30%, more than 10%, more than 70%. If an emergency happens, you think that person's going to call you before they swipe their credit card? No, they're going to swipe that credit card. Okay. Now, how often does this happen? I have seen it happen. Okay. That's why I'm telling you all this information. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be an authorized user. We just got to know the risk. Okay. We all know that there is a risk with something. There's pros and there's cons. A lot of times we only focus on the pros. You got to know the cons. We're not going to be surprised in 2025. We're going to be prepared. Someone put prepared inside the comment section below. All right, so that's usage. What about payments? What happens if they're late? What happens if they get a late payment, right? Then that's the same thing. Next thing, what a bankruptcy? Yes, people have been authorized users on credit cards where people have filed bankruptcy. And here's the crazy part. Most of the time that situation has happened, it was always family or friends because they was like, oh yeah, they forget that they added the person to the credit card. Years go by, months go by, person files bankruptcy. They don't even think to tell the other person. So again, some banks do not allow you, the authorized user, to remove yourself from the credit card. All right, let's keep going. Number 4, some banks will close your account if you are adding and removing authorized users. We've seen Capital One do this. We've seen Discover Card do this. We've seen Southwest Chase Bank do this. Why? Now, this because authorized users are a gray area. Why is it a gray area? Authorized users, the whole purpose of being an authorized user, the credit card companies created this not so people could piggyback necessarily. It was more so so someone can be an authorized user on the credit card, a user of the credit card family mainly, right? But they can't tell you who to put on there, like who can be added, like who's to say a person isn't family or a friend or something like that, right? But let's be honest. For the most part, we're being added as authorized users to take advantage of the person's good history, good payment history, right? High limits, age of accounts, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't care. So I'm saying that to say some banks will close your account if you're adding and removing authorized users. Am I lying in the comments? No, I'm telling you. Now, again, that does not mean that you can't be an authorized user, but you must know the risk. Okay, let's keep going. Number 5, over 90% of Equifax credit reports no longer show the payment history once the authorized user or trade line has been removed or terminated. I gotta say removed or terminated because we say removed, but the credit report has a status terminated. Okay, that means the relationship with that particular bank, that line, that trade line that's reporting to your credit report, that relationship has been terminated. Okay, now Experian has no problem. They say, hey, they update the status to terminated, and it shows the previous payment history. Eventually, it falls off. Same things with TransUnion. But Equifax credit reports, once a person is removed as an authorized user, so does the history. So does the history. This is 90%. I would have to say 95. When I researched, it said 90. It would have to be 95. I've never seen a report, or I rarely see it's been years since I've even seen an Equifax credit report where the relationship is like closed out, canceled, not an active authorized user. But if you were removed from the account, Equifax removes majority of that payment history from that credit report, which also causes the score to drop. Number 6, FICO 10 and FICO 10T will reduce the amount of points. They're reducing the value of when you add someone as an authorized user, or of course, if you're the authorized user. So they're reducing the amount of points that you get by being an authorized user. Okay. Now, this is only the FICO 10 and FICO 10T. Why are they doing this? Because this was one of the strategies that people would do. They would try to get the things removed off the credit report, get it wiped, then add on authorized users, pay for trade lines, essentially, get that history added. So you got people that's really 500 scores with 500 score habits, not paying people on purpose. And then now they're 700, they get approved. And guess what they do again? Half of them, more than half of them, end up doing the same things because the person didn't change. The person didn't change, right? It's just like putting deodorant on a stank body. You still stink, right? So again, I'm not now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking the process, and just so we're clear, we're talking about the people that they put these things in position and they mess it up. I'm talking about those people. I'm not talking about just becoming an authorized user, but it's more so again knowing the risk of what can and what cannot happen. Okay, so don't be surprised. FICO 10, FICO 10T is already out. But again, they won't start using it. The mortgage industry will be forced to use this. Okay, the mortgage industry will be forced to use this at the end of this year. Okay, we talked about this. All right, they're going to be so again. What does that mean? If a person becomes an authorized user, let's say it's November, December, you become an authorized user on someone's credit card, or you pay for a trade line, same thing, right? And instead of don't you expect 50 to some 100 points. Don't you expect 25 points. Don't get mad when it's 5 points. Don't get mad when it's 6 points, because again, that's what that's going to be looking at. FICO 10, FICO 10T. So specifically for mortgages. So if you get your credit ran, you trying to get a mortgage, you 30, 40, 50, 60 points away, you go buy a trade line, temper your expectations. Again, mortgages, they're going to be they're using FICO 10, FICO 10T along with Vantage Score, right? And so again, that's going to most definitely play a role in your scores. Number seven, last but not least, some banks charge a fee to add authorized users. If you and now, if you guys made it to the end, I'm not done yet, but if you made it to the end of this list in this video, let me know inside the comment section below. But listen, some banks charge a fee to add authorized users. Okay, some of those banks are American Express, Credit One. These are just examples. They charge a fee if you want to add an authorized user. Okay, some people don't know that. Okay, now usually they tell you when you're adding them, but some people may forget. And some of those banks actually charge it every single year. It's not a one-off. It's every single year that that person is an authorized user. You will get charged a fee. So keep those things in mind. All right. Listen, if you have credit goals, like I said earlier, now we also have an 850 Club Elite community where you're around people that have the same goals as you: buying a car, leasing a car, going into homeownership, improving their credit score, learning about business credit, qualifying for business funding. No matter what your goals are, we most definitely can help you. Scan that QR code right there on your screen or click the link in the description to learn more. All right, let's go and get to the comments. Crazy stuff, man. Y'all listen, that's a sad story what happened to that lady. But let's go ahead and talk about it so we can go ahead and then go from there, guys. All right. So was this good information? Yes or yes? Let me know let me know inside the comment section below. Was this good information? Yes or yes? Yanobi's in the house. All right. Yanobi's in the house. One of the top members inside of the 850 Club Elite, also in the city of Chicago. Appreciate you being here, Yanobi. All right. So Marcus, what's going on, man? He says, preach, giving out the information per usual. Yanobi says, wow, listen, crazy. That story was great, man. Listen, I knew I had to share that with you all because listen, a lot of times they talk about how people are hacking into like credit cards, debit cards, stuff like that. Like that happens on a frequent basis. But this is another way of doing it. Instead of using a person's card and then getting a few $1,000s out of it, it's like, no, let's go ahead and sell spots, authorized user spots on her credit card. And they sold it. They oversold it. Insane. Same name, same people were on her credit card. She's not the only one. She's just one of the few that was brave enough to even tell the news. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Insane. Okay. Sadie's in the house. Appreciate you being here. Sadie says, this is a hot mess. How did she not know though? I'm thinking it must have been all within like a 30-day time frame because let me tell you something. Most banks don't send you an authorized user. I'm sorry, they don't send you an alert, an email, or anything when there is an authorized user. Most banks don't do it. It's crazy. It most definitely is. All right. Sadie says, a hot buttered mess. How could Chase do that to that lady? They ain't listen. That just goes to show you these types of things can happen because a lot of times people think about, man, what's the things that can happen if I have bad credit? But people don't talk about what can happen if you have good credit. Matter of fact, that's gonna be another video. Okay, listen, I've been telling people for years, that's what I call good credit problems. People don't talk about good credit problems, right? The type of problems that you have when you actually have good credit. Okay, all right. We said, so what happens to these people's credit? They snatch their good credit back? Very good question. Very good question. So they're more than likely remove them from being an authorized user from her credit card. Okay. Um, and because of that, like I showed you with Equifax, they're the only bureau that's going to remove that history from the credit report. All the other two bureaus, they more than likely got what they paid for. Now, here's another thing too: is now it depends on which bureaus it was too. Sometimes it doesn't show up on all three with Chase unless the address is the same as that. I told you all. That's why I'm telling you, your information, your name, that information goes through. So credit card offers in the mail, all of that. Okay, it goes to the person. So if you've ever paid to be if you ever paid for a trade line, if you ever paid to be added to someone's credit report, they get mail with your name on it at every few months, guaranteed, because that address is still associated. Now what you can do is remove that address that's associated from your credit report. That's something you can do, okay, if it shows up, but it should be. Jamie's in the house. Yes, in 2025, we will most definitely be prepared and not surprised. Mark is in the house. Appreciate you being here. Marcus says, what about buying trade lines that stays on your credit report for 60 days? Yeah, so here's the thing. Um, it's nothing wrong with becoming an authorized user. There's nothing wrong with getting a trade line. These are just the risk itself. So the risk is always there, right? Because we never know who the other person is. Not only do we not know who the other person is, we're kind of hoping that things are kind of going a certain way. Let me tell you all something. I I would bet that all of those people that were added to her credit card, that lady, that video I just showed you all, I would bet money. Let me be careful because y'all be like, no, man, Calvin, bet it up. Anyway, but no, I would honestly bet that most of those people that were added to her credit card as an authorized user had no idea that this lady did not know. They probably wouldn't have done it. I'm sure, like when you listen, I'm familiar with the trade card industry. I'm sorry, trade card. I'm familiar with the trade line industry. Okay. I'm familiar with how trade lines work. Not long ago, we used to, for those who've been watching us for years, we sold trade lines at a very short point, maybe for about 4 or 5 months. And once companies started to get shut down because of that, then we quickly stopped doing it as well too. But the way we did it though was we actually knew who that person was. Okay. And so we decided on our own to stop having it as a service. And for those who don't know, that was an 850 Club fast start, very short lived. But here's the thing, because because again, all these small things that was like, I don't like that. I don't like how someone has their, we got to give this person the social. Now we trust them because we know them. But look, I'm telling you, someone got a hold of this lady's information and they sold spots on her credit card. And you are crazy if you think she's the only one they got. Okay. But this stuff happens and it happens all the time for sure. But yeah, but Marcus, no, there's nothing wrong with that. But again, the risk is always there. I do understand the risk is always there, unless it's someone that you obviously know that you can talk to, call, whatever. But the risk is most definitely there. Jamie says, Shinobi, she says, why my notifications didn't notify? Up, here we go. All right, Elite is in the building for sure. Okay. Marcus says, yeah, like trade line supplies. Correct. Yeah, man. For sure. Yeah, so again, nothing wrong with that, but the risk is always just there for sure. Sadie says, what about the ones that are attached to her credit though? Did she not realize that she was not spending those amounts? I'm thinking that this is the timeline, I think, of what happened. The lady just happened to get stuff in the mail. And then once she started getting all the stuff in the mail, she probably called Chase and said, hey, what is this? And then Chase probably told her, hey, these people are added as authorized users. She's like, well, I didn't add these people. And I'm thinking that's probably how the sequence went. But keep in mind, you only need to be added on there that one time. Not all history, but at least the last 4 years gets added to your credit report, as well as the age of that account, not the history, but the age itself. Okay, so that's what another factor that pushes up those scores. So I'm thinking as soon as she found out, that's when she went ahead and called Chase, and they probably removed it. But again, we're talking a span of probably 30 days or less, maybe 20 to 30 days by the time she got cards, because again, she didn't get an alert. So her only knowing would be the getting the letters in the mail, right? And so keep that in mind too. Jamie says, hit that like button, y'all. Yes, for sure. Make sure you guys go and like, share, and subscribe as well too. Sadie says, so wait, are you saying that there is an unlimited amount of AUs that can be added? So here's another thing too. I've never seen that before. I would say this. Some banks try to put a limit on it, like Capital One, they let you add up to 5. Most banks are 5. I don't know how they were able to do that, especially without getting some type of flag, on that. But again, like I said, if they were able to do that with one person, it's just a matter of time, and we don't even, but again, it's no one, they didn't do it to steal money. They did it, right? They did it to actually make money. So they knew what they were doing. They were familiar with the industry. They just find a pawn, right? They find that pawn. Now, thankfully, nothing happened to the lady's credit because, of course, you can't lose anything by adding an authorized user. But still, right? You have people. Think about it like this. They went on her online dashboard. Are you guys missing this? That means they knew her credit score. They had an idea of how old she was because it was like, okay, she's a little bit older. chances are these alerts may not be on, right? And then they went ahead and then logged into her dashboard. Because think about it, there's only two ways to add an authorized user. You either got to call in or you got to do it online. That means they logged into her account, went to her dashboard, start adding all of these people. Insane. Be saying, all right, she said, I'm not sure. Jamie says, Navy Fed been shut down accounts with multiple authorized users for the same person. I don't even tell people I have Navy Fed. I be gatekeeping for real on that. Yeah, for real. Because again, especially like, I would say different types of generations for sure. People are, I won't say overhyping it, but again, they say, man, especially with Navy Federal, they know the benefits that they're going to get. But it's a lot of credit unions out there, for sure. All right. Coach Elizabeth Carter is in the house. Appreciate you being here. He says, listen, we got to change that mindset. Not deodorant on the state body. Listen, I'm just letting y'all know, man, for real. Because again, we have to get out of that. We have to learn. We've all made the mistakes in some way, shape, or form, but you have to change on what that is. Again, sometimes it's income, sometimes it's just knowledge. Sometimes it's habits, whatever that is for you. But it's like, okay, what can I do, for sure? Margaret says, elites all day. You better believe it. Sadie says yes and yes. Margaret says, of course. And of course, Coach Elizabeth Carter is in the house as well, guys. Listen, that was good, some good information. Want to make sure you guys got that stuff covered. Listen, guys, in the 850 Club Elite, we got a lot of stuff going on coming up in these next upcoming weeks. We just locked in a day and time with one of my good friends, Key. I know if you guys watch any of her videos in the past, but again, you most definitely want to go ahead and be there for that. She's going to be she has over 50 plus credit cards. We'll keep you guys posted on when that is going to be. All right, but listen, this week we got some pretty cool stuff coming up. Let me go ahead and show you guys what's coming up actually. All right. So oh, my bad. You guys can't even see this screen. All right. So this is the calendar of what's going on inside of the group. Okay. So we got a lot of stuff that's going on inside of the group. This upcoming week, of course, we have how to make money on YouTube. Is a free webinar. I'm going to show people if you guys have ever thought about, starting a YouTube channel and of course turn into an income stream, helping with your business. We're going to be talking about that on this Thursday. So make sure you guys get in the building for that as well. Then, of course, we have our accountability call. But listen, we got quite a few things. We got our in-person home buying event that's coming up. Make sure you guys go ahead and get registered for that. This is our spring into home buyer workshop. It's going to be live right here in Tinley Park, Illinois. Okay. A lot of people are coming out. Listen, we've helped a lot of people go from not qualifying to qualifying. I'm super excited to see so many faces and so many people for years that we've been doing our home buying events. It's going to be in person and of course virtual as well if you cannot make it. We be an email saying, I can't make it. I'm in a different state. No worries. You can most definitely watch it virtual. But we get some people to actually fly in or drive in to come and check out the event. So make sure you guys do that for sure. Okay. But listen, like I said, we most definitely can help you with your credit goals. Just want to make sure you guys knew about that as well. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get up out of here, guys. Don't want to hold you guys up anymore. Okay. So of course, we got Israel Neves in the house all the way from Milwaukee. Man, you an hour away. Not even that. All right. So either way, we'll see you guys on the next video. Make sure you guys go ahead and of course, thank you guys for watching. Of course, make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. And we will see you guys on